6 Hard Truths You Must Know About My Remorse About Moving into a Nursing Home, Old Age Wisdom. I've gained a lot of life experience at the age of 82. But I regret one choice in particular: entering a nursing home. It seemed like the appropriate decision at the moment, with assurances that I would receive all the support and attention I required. My family supported it. I took them at face value. However, after arriving, I discovered that the actual situation was very different from my expectations. I'm aware that a lot of you may be considering this choice for a loved one or yourself. Perhaps you've been taught it will make life easier. Or perhaps you believe it to be the safest course of action. I want to share 6 things I wish someone had told me before I moved in. Though, before you do that, because, in reality, living in a nursing home is about more than just convenience. It transforms everything. And it's not as easy as you may assume to get out once you're inside. Some of these lessons may surprise you. So stay with me through to the finish. Additionally, this video might be just what someone you know is thinking about going to a nursing home needs to hear before making a decision that could change their life. Let's get going now. One thing I regret is losing my independence. It wasn't the cramped quarters, the mealtime routines, or even the new people that were the biggest shock after entering the nursing home. It was the knowledge that I was no longer in charge of my own life. I had my rituals before moving in. I made decisions about how to spend my day, when to eat, and when to wake up. I could cook for myself, go on a walk whenever I chose, or just read a book in peace and quiet in my favorite chair. However, as soon as I entered the nursing home, I understood that my time was no longer mine. Everything happened according to a timetable that wasn't mine, even though I wasn't hungry. Breakfast was served at a certain hour, regardless of whether I was ready for bed or not. Lights went off at a specific hour. Do you want to go for a stroll outside? You will most likely have to wait until someone is available to help you. And you may require permission. Basic choices like what to eat and even what to wear began to feel more like perks than necessities. I recall waking up in a bed that didn't seem like mine during my first week there. Stretching and reaching for the book I had been reading at home. I sat up. But it dawned on me as I surveyed the room. I didn't live here. My beloved chair, my books, and the small luxuries I had accumulated over the years were all gone. They were replaced by a bed and antiseptic walls. I didn't make a decision. I couldn't get rid of the notion that I wasn't in control of my own life anymore. The most challenging aspect? Recognizing that it is nearly impossible to regain your freedom after you have given it up. You have no choice but to adapt. When they tell you what's for supper, you cease your argument. You no longer inquire about going for a walk whenever you'd want. You begin to lose yourself as you learn to fit into their system. Consider whether you're prepared to give up the little liberties that define your life if you're thinking of going into a nursing home. Because you'll miss them more than you ever imagined once they're gone. I regret being forgotten as well. Realizing that the outside world continues to move on without you is one of the most difficult realities of entering a nursing home. My relatives assured me they would come often when I initially came. In the beginning, they did believe me. For a brief period, I felt as though I still had ties to my former life. With my daughter visiting once a week and my grandchildren coming over on the weekends. However, the visits decreased in frequency as the months passed. Instead of coming, my daughter started calling. My grandkids became preoccupied with their jobs and studies. The most difficult times were over the holidays. Despite everyone's assurances that they would attend, last-minute changes constantly occurred. All of a sudden, I was sitting by myself in a common area, watching other inmates gaze at the door in the hopes that someone might remember them today. My family didn't stop loving me, though. Simply put, life got in the way. It's simple for others to think you're okay, that you're adjusting, and that you don't require as much care when you're not present every day. However, the truth is that people tend to forget how much you still need them the longer you're in a nursing home. One evening, I recall sitting in my room with my phone in my hand, contemplating whether or not to call my kid. I didn't wish to cause trouble. I didn't want to remind him that I was waiting for a perhaps non-existent visit. Then it dawned on me as I put down the phone. Watching the days pass while praying that someone will remember to involve me was my new life. Ask yourself if you're ready for the loneliness that comes with living in a nursing home. Because it's simpler than you might think to lose your family's attention once you're out of sight. Regardless of how much they love you. Please let me know in the second remark below if you're still watching this video and finding these ideas helpful. To ensure you don't miss any videos, I advise you to subscribe and turn on the bell if you haven't already. Let's go ahead now. Losing my feeling of purpose is my third regret. I believed I was simply moving to a nursing home when I moved in. I had no idea that I was also altering my motivation for living. I had obligations at home. I had interests, habits, and an early wake-up time. I found a sense of purpose in the little tasks, like watering the plants, brewing my own coffee, and cleaning my workspace. But such daily routines vanished in the nursing home. They prepared meals for me. Someone else did the cleaning. Well, I no longer had responsibility for the plants. I initially told myself that it would be good to unwind at last. Rest. No more obligations. No more duties. However, I became aware that something was lacking after a few weeks. With nothing to do but wait, the days seemed to drag on forever. I also seen it in other residents. Formerly energetic people now spent their days sitting, gazing, and biding their time. An 84-year-old man named George had spent his entire life working as a carpenter. He was constantly repairing items at home and working on small projects in his garage. However, he had nothing to work on. No tasks, and no tools here. I saw him pull his hands back once. Slowly. Idle in his lap. Strong and talented. One day he told me, "I feel useless." And I understood his meaning well. Life begins to lose its purpose when you have nothing left to strive for or care about. The body slows down. The mind slows down. And before you know it, you're just another inhabitant of a place where time passes but not much changes. Think about what makes your life meaningful if you're thinking about going to a nursing home. Because it takes more than just filling your time to find purpose once you're settled in. It's about battling to preserve the things that give you life. Fourth regret. Deteriorating health more quickly than anticipated. I was doing well for my age before entering a nursing facility. I could still take care of myself, even though I wasn't racing marathons. Take walks and prepare my own food. I kept myself moving with my own small routines. To keep my legs strong, I stretch in the mornings, go grocery shopping, and even just walk around the home. However, everything changed after I moved in. Initially, it appeared that I was simply relaxing. I no longer had to stand in the kitchen preparing meals. Instead, they were served to me. I could just press a button to summon assistance if I needed it. I was unaware, however, that the less I took care of myself, the weaker I become. My legs started to feel stiffer when I stopped moving as much. Before I knew it, getting out of a chair became a hassle since I was sitting more than I used to. The muscles I had worked so hard to build were fading more quickly than I could have predicted. It wasn't just me, either. I also witnessed it happen to other people. Wheelchairs become necessary for people who had previously walked in on their own 2 feet. Formerly self-sufficient people suddenly required assistance with tasks they had never faced before. The more assistance we received, the more we appeared to require it. I recall Alice, my 81-year-old neighbor, being vivacious when she first moved in. She insisted that she wouldn't slow down because of a number and used to go for daily walks around the property. However, I saw that she was walking less after a few months. After that, she began using a wheelchair and later a walker. She once commented, "I don't know when it happened, but I feel like I aged 10 years in just a few months." After glancing at me, and that's precisely how it felt. You begin to lose your body when you stop using it. Additionally, it's simple to forget that mobility is essential for survival rather than convenience in a nursing home, where everything is made to make life simpler. I would have struggled more to keep moving, to stay active, to push myself even when I didn't feel like it if I had known how rapidly I would lose my strength. If you're thinking of living in a nursing home, evaluate if you'll still be motivated to maintain your physical fitness once everything is set up to make your life easy. Because it's not as simple as you may believe to get back up after you slow down. Please let me know in the 4th comment below if you're still viewing this video and finding these ideas helpful. To ensure you don't miss any videos, I advise you to subscribe and turn on the bell if you haven't already. We can keep producing high-quality content to educate and uplift you thanks to your support. Alright, let's proceed. The loss of dignity and privacy is the 5th thing I regret. I wasn't really aware of how much privacy I would be losing when I moved into a nursing home. I had a place of my own at home. I could do things on my own terms, shut the door to my bedroom, and sit quietly if I so desired. However, seclusion is not always a luxury at a care home. I had the impression that I was being monitored all the time from the minute I arrived because of the staff's frequent arrivals and departures, the scheduled room inspections, and the communal areas where you are rarely left alone. It was frequently necessary to have someone help with even basic tasks like dressing or using the restroom. It's difficult to accept assistance for tasks you've performed on your own all your life, even if I understand they were only carrying out their duties. During my first week, I recall having a hard time accepting that I needed to get permission to do things that I used to do without thinking. Do you want to shower? It may be necessary for you to wait for assistance. Do you need to go to the bathroom? You may have to wait longer than you would like to when you push the call button. There weren't many options for meals either. It's too bad if you don't like the menu that day. Then there was the roommate problem. It can be annoying to share a space with someone you didn't choose. Yet not everyone gets a private room. Though I heard tales from people who weren't as fortunate. I was fortunate to have a nice roommate. Some had noisy, dirty, or even cognitively impaired housemates who made it hard to go asleep. Furthermore, your room is never really yours, no matter how hard you try to make it feel like home. I didn't know how much of my dignity I would have to give up until I was already there. And it's difficult to lose. It alters you when people knock without always waiting for a response before entering. When you're treated more like a patient than a human. And when your everyday activities are determined by a timetable you didn't make. You begin to feel more like a name on a list and less like yourself. Consider whether you're ready to give up the privacy and control you've had throughout your life if you're thinking of moving into a nursing home. Because it's difficult to get back after it's gone. The sixth regret is that leaving is more difficult than you may have imagined. I convinced myself it would only be temporary when I first moved into the nursing home. I reasoned that I could try it out, see how it went, and then leave if I didn't like it. However, I was unaware of how difficult it would be to exit once I was inside. It looked easy at first. I would simply return home if I didn't enjoy it. Home, however, had change. It was hard to maintain my house from a distance. And it lay empty. My kids had already begun to make changes, selling items they believed I wouldn't need, and even thinking about renting out the space. They were hesitant when I suggested going back. Are you certain you can handle things by yourself? Wouldn't staying be safer? All we care about is what's best for you. Then there was the matter of bodily deterioration. I wasn't as strong as I had been after months of living somewhere where I didn't have to cook, clean, or even walk very far. My former independence began to wane, making the prospect of returning home more challenging than I had ever anticipated. I was stuck because I was afraid I wouldn't be able to live alone. I encountered people who shared my experience. When they realized that leaving the nursing home wasn't as simple as they had anticipated, they decided to give it a go for a short while. Getting used to life outside is more difficult the longer you stay. For some, the choice was completely eliminated. There was no turning back once their house was sold or the expensive care depleted their resources. No one tells you that part. Although moving in seems like a choice you can change, most people can't. Before you realize it, the outside world you once knew begins to feel like a faraway memory as the nursing home gradually takes over your entire existence. If you're thinking about going into a nursing home, ask yourself if you're ready for the prospect that it might be harder to leave once you're there. Because it may be more difficult than you think to overcome the obstacles to leaving once you've settled down. Whether they be emotional, physical, or financial. Please let me know in the 6th comment below if you're still viewing this video and finding these insights helpful. To ensure you don't miss any videos, I advise you to subscribe and turn on the bell if you haven't already. We can keep producing high-quality content to educate and uplift you thanks to your support. To Mom, Salamu alaikum. Last words. I don't regret getting older in retrospect. But I do regret thinking that my only choice was to go into a nursing facility. I entered anticipating a higher standard of living, comfort, and safety. Instead, I discovered a universe that gradually eroded my sense of self, autonomy, privacy, and purpose. Does that imply that all nursing homes are undesirable? Not always. The degree of attention they offer is actually necessary for some people. Life will never be the same when you move in, so carefully consider what you're giving up before making that choice. I would have battled harder to remain in my own house, looked into additional options for getting aid without sacrificing my freedom, and made sure I really needed to be there before making such a permanent relocation if I could go back in time. And I hope you take the time to consider whether this is really what's best for you if you're having to make this choice. Or is it simply what is most convenient at the moment? Because you should cherish your current life, routines, independence, and choices for as long as possible. We appreciate you being here with us today. We would be delighted to hear from you. Tell us about one thing you learned today and how you intend to apply it in your life in the comment section below. We value your opinions, so please feel free to express them. We are greatly inspired and encouraged by reading your remarks. Please like, subscribe, and share this video if you found it entertaining and useful. We can keep producing high-quality content to educate and uplift you thanks to your support. We appreciate your time and hope to see you in the upcoming video.